When you're born into a fire, let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake up to the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake up to the back of the pack, kill it anyway. And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake up to the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake up to the back of the pack, kill it anyway. What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake up to the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake up to the back of the pack, kill it anyway.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Making an Impact. It's our Thursday night hangout, and the wonderful, amazing, natural Astro Pizarro is back again this week. I am Defoe, Cody Defoe. Welcome to the show. We got a lot to discuss, a lot to get into tonight. Of course, going to throw the shout outs in the chat. Ed, Mel, Bobby, thank you so much for dropping in. Astrid, thank you for dropping in. How was vacation?
Very, very nice. So I want to say again, even though I said it on Tuesday during taking over, thank you, Ed, for stepping in. So I can miss not only one but two impact shows in a row. But no, got some rest and I got to celebrate my birthday and have a vacation that I haven't had in like 2 years now. So it was pretty nice to be out completely from everything that I do for once. But how are you doing? Did you miss me? I know you did.
Of course, we always miss you here on Making an Impact. You just brighten up this room so much. All of this black surrounding us. We need your bright light on every show. Happy birthday from me to you. I didn't get a chance to get in on Ed's presentation on Tuesday, but wanted to give it to you person to person. I'm a little late. Happy belated. Glad you had a good time with it and everything, though.
Thank you.
You got a chance to watch BTI tonight, then, right?
Yes,
Let's
sir.
jump into it. Our number one fan, Trey Miguel, taking on the Jet, Kevin Knight, in some BTI X Division action. Really, really fun match, I thought here. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I like how it was so fast paced, and it just another thing that I kept thinking about in the back of my mind while watching this though is like, yeah, I like how even as champion, like Trey has complained recently about not being part of the show on the pay-per-view, and now he's again on BTI. So that's interesting to see. But no, I mean, him and Kevin Knight had a great match. I loved it. It was definitely a great preview to Impact tonight.
Barry, welcome in. Praying for Trey's testicles. I feel like we're all praying for Trey's testicles after that one. He seemed to be feeling it a little bit at the end of the night. Honestly, I felt like this match had a little bit of everything in it for next division match. Like, it was a really fast pace at times. We got a really technical open there right off the start where we had some arm and leg holds exchanged for a little bit. Then we got into the speed, and then we got Trey kind of slowing it down with some heavier moves and some submissions and a little bit of up and down and a little bit of everything. And it felt like Kevin Knight really held his own throughout the different speed changes here. And I never won't be amazed by the height that Kevin Knight gets when he leaps.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy not only that, but I more than anything the character that Trey was playing during this match. Like he was always toying with Kevin and the low blow part, and even stretching him out through the post while he did that too. Just those little bits and pieces that he adds to his character, and I love the part that like even during commentary they were just saying, "Oh, ever since he won the title Overdrive, he's changed. He's been different." And I like how Tom he's asking Gia about it. She's like, I don't know what he's smoking, but it got to his head, and it just definitely got me when she said that. I had to point it out when it did. But yeah, I feel like it was a good back and forth for them, a good showing for Kevin. That's another thing that I noticed too during commentary. They just kept highlighting Kevin in a way, and they said even though he's partnered with Kushida, and we've seen him partner him for a little bit now, but still he's standing up on his own and he's showing up on his own, which I really like. And I'm glad to see because, like I said, for me, when I was at the tapings, that was my introduction to Kevin, and he's been standing out to me ever since. But of course, being that this is quote unquote right, the last night before Sacrifice, that it makes sense for Trey to win this match as a preview to the show tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, the spot in the corner there, I did want to kind of highlight or low light, if you will. Just the fact that Trey definitely looked like he struggled a little bit with Kevin's size, trying to get him up into that tree of woe. Really good job by both guys to make it work, but it definitely made it look like Trey was having a little bit of difficulty there. And then the lightning spiral for the win, as Trey has gone with. Barry, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets there eventually. I don't know if he's quite to that level yet, but he's definitely got that raw athletic ability that put a little bit of work and polish on it, and he's got all the tools to succeed for sure.
Yeah, I wanted to also back to Bobby's comment here. A few minutes ago, Impact tweeted that Mickie won't be competing at Sacrifice like it was scheduled, her versus Jordan. She has an injury, as I would call it for now, because we don't know what really happened at the moment. So they said tomorrow night they're going to address the championship match. So we don't know what they're doing. I have the graphic here for the predictions later on. So clearly we're not talking about that one because we don't know what's happening now. But yeah, it's interesting to think of like they just pointed that out right after the show ended as well.
Yeah, definitely with the way that segment ended and stuff. We'll get to it in a bit here, but it's definitely some breaking news and a big piece going into tomorrow's Sacrifice show that suddenly the Knockouts women's title is not on the table anymore. Main show opened up with the 6-man tag match between the Design and the Time Machine, following our regular rundown of all the stuff that we watched and talked about last week. Somewhat interestingly, Callahan is left to sit out to the side on this one. And I do like how Deonna is getting even a little bit more forceful and aggressive, it feels, with stopping Callahan's thumbs up, thumbs down at the entrance there. This time he actually literally grabbed his hands and just stopped him completely in his tracks before he even got to the thumbs up portion, just as soon as he went to put the arm out.
Yeah, it's a nice timing of it because we've seen it like when I went to the tapings and like the progression of it, he was higher up when he was stopping him, and now you notice he just keeps getting lower and lower because he knows when it's coming and he's stopping it beforehand. Versus it made it seem like before he didn't know when it was coming, and just when he had it up there is when he lowers it when he's doing it too. So that was interesting. Yeah, for me this was a good opening match. I like the speed of it, and I feel with the machine guns, like it's something that you expected to happen, especially with adding Kushida to that mix as well. And again, this was just a good preview, not only for Sacrifice, but for next week as well for Multiverse United. I feel like it was definitely more of like the side of Time Machine than anything. I feel like the design had some kind of good spots. I enjoyed especially that one part with Alan and Angel just kind of powering up and just like I got this, and then just like that, it's the Time Machine. It's a 3-on-1 situation, and then just like that, it's over. So I was like, dang it, I wanted more of Alan and Angel getting powered up after he did in that part there too. But I thought it was also interesting the part with Callahan, the way he was assisting them during the match and telling them, the machine gun just like hit me, like, and they actually did hit him, but it wasn't actually helpful towards them at the end. So I thought that was interesting how it didn't work out, even though he tried to help them.
Yeah, the save at the end, right when the Time Machine was going to go after Deonna, and Callahan comes flying in, and rather than interfering or causing a disqualification or anything, he just stands there and takes the punch on Deonna's behalf, was an interesting kind of way of going about it. The match itself, especially early on, had kind of a weird dynamic to it. It almost felt like we were watching a heel versus heel. I thought it was odd that Time Machine were working almost a heel style against another heel team. And the crowd, even for a little bit there, seemed unsure on whether or not they should be cheering for Time Machine during, I want to say it was Angels that they were beating down in the corner, where they were taking turns and keeping him away from making a tag and stuff, and felt very, very bad guy-esque in that sense. But seemed by the end of the match, they'd kind of come around, and Time Machine got some massive pops in the lead up to the ending of this match. Like you said, ultimately Kushida with the win on this one. I did want to say, though, the way that last segment with Callahan played out and just the end of the match, and they had the one spot where Callahan was on the side of the ring and Deonna was up on the apron, and the way he just kind of looked and glared up at him for the first time throughout this storyline, it actually put the thought in my head, what if Callahan isn't trying to destroy the Design? What if Callahan sees himself as a better leader of the Design than Deonna? And his ultimate goal is to get accepted in and then to usurp Deonna and take over the group.
Yeah, I think that would be an interesting dynamic, because it would be like, how do you take down Deonna as a leader from the group, though, in itself? Like, how do you take him out of that power there? Because he's not going to accept it himself. So that means that the other two guys have to accept it for Callahan in that aspect of it. I feel like that would be interesting to see.
Yeah, just the first time it's crossed my mind, I had to bring it up, that something that I could see them doing with this, that the seventh deadly step, when it gets announced and when it comes about, ends up being him getting in, And then slowly we start to see the cracks form and him get Con and Angels on his side because they don't trust the fact that Diener kept letting Callahan in the first place and that Diener keeps giving Callahan. Maybe you see the sickness start creeping into Diener.
Oh yeah, that could be the sickness. That's true.
Yeah. We went from this match to a quick backstage promo with Taylor Wilde, Kylan King, the Coven. I personally didn't find much substance in this promo. It was really just reaffirming the fact that they won the titles last week, reminding us that they're the new champions and that they're witches, and not much
nothing
else
new.
really felt like it was said. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only thing that really stood out to me though is when I forgot how it started and when the way she said it, but Taylor said it. Rosemary shook Taylor's hand, and that's when she sealed the fate for the Death Dolls for them to lose the titles. So
yeah,
that's the only part that really,
I think, actually made that comment.
Yeah, that's the part that really stood out to me. Is like, oh yeah, it was Kylie. I remember now. But yeah, that part is the one that stood out to me. Is like you sealed your fate the woman you shook my hand. And that's when the Death Dolls actually lost the match. So that's the only part that really stood out to me from everything they said. Other than that, I'm just, I don't believe in you being a witch, Taylor. I'm sorry, I really don't.
We got another kind of promo package put together. Again, just one that not a ton of substance, just kind of a little bit of character build and reminding us of Champagne Singh and that he has apparently hit it big in Vegas, and him and Shira don't need to pay for anything because they have all the money now, celebrating all their success with a life of luxury and fast cars and women and champagne. Again, just kind of keeping them in your mind. I feel like it's a positive for Singh that he's in a position now where he's getting a promo package and getting to be kept relevant and prominent, even when he's not in matches. I don't know what the future holds necessarily for him, but it's definitely something that I'm curious to see where they go with it.
Yeah, I feel like it's just a way for us not to forget about either one of them. So I thought it was interesting that they decided to go with this as that, not only that introduction, but that way of like, we're doing something with them, just wait. And this is kind of like that way of making us wait. I also wanted to highlight Bobby's comment. I like to see a match between the Coven, Kylie King, and Taylor Wilde versus the Hex. I thought about that as well as the promo was happening, because I kept thinking the Hex came in, they just went against the Death Dolls, and then they were just out. And it's like, I wanted them to stay. What happened? Why did it have to be just a one-off? And it goes back to the point that I've been saying for like since we started the show, of like the part now with the rosters, like they keep losing people and not gaining as much. And then they lost Taya now, so the Death Dolls are out, and we don't know what's gonna happen. I mean, not that part yet, but we don't know what's gonna happen between Rosemary and Havoc now, or Jessica, as you want to call her still. And then the Hex came in, they left, and that was it. So I'm wondering what else is happening, because you guys are not adding really a lot of people to the roster. And like I keep pointing out, where's my girl Tasha at? Where is she? What are you guys doing with her? Why are you hiding her? I need to know. Frustrating. I don't like it.
Barry, you're just saying that Champagne Singh's like an old school heel from the 80s or 90s. Very much so. He almost has kind of that Ted DiBiase, like him and Shira have that DiBiase and Virgil, or DiBiase and IRS kind of feel right now. So curious to see on that one. There's so many different directions they could take it. Personally, I think the most likely next step for the Champagne Singh character would be a potential rival for Joe Hendry.
That could be, yeah.
Next, we had another backstage segment with Eddie Edwards and Kenny King, basically just explaining how Eddie came around to get Kenny to help him take down PCO. Eddie saying, he's been trying to move on. His past is coming back to haunt him, that PCO just won't let him move on. So in order to eliminate his past, he has to dig back and reach back into his own past. And that's where he found Kenny King. There was a little bit of other in the middle here, but ultimately the piece that kind of stood out to me was Kenny King saying, at Sacrifice tomorrow, PCO is gonna be king because he's putting Carl out.
Ay, this is the part that I kept thinking back of that promo that Kenny did not too long ago. I was like, oh, putting all the champions on notice, and I was like, what happened to that Kenny? I was prepared for him to go for a title, and then we haven't really seen anything, and then he just goes to PCO. I'm like, do you know PCO is not a champion? Just letting you know, because
I mean, he tried to go for the titles. He
I was
lost to
like,
Speedball in the tournament for the X Division. He
but that was
lost.
it.
I
I
forget who
feel
he
like there
lost
was.
to in the world title tournament that Macklin ended up winning. Like he's gone for them and he's failed, so I guess he's just given up going for them. Maybe him and Eddie will end up being tag champions here down the line. Who knows?
That's the part that I'm like, that was it. Like, I feel like that promo gave me like hope of like something more for him, and then he just goes like, no, I'm gonna go against PCO now. But I thought it was interesting though how they pointed out. I was like, oh, we were at Jay Briscoe's house, and even during the tragedy, like we got together, and this is when we realized that we should team up against PCO because of our past with Honor No More, which is it goes back to like the way we were saying, it's like I don't know more just like stopped and they just forgot about it, and then I was like, do you forget that Kenny's still there and Eddie and I feel like they just forgot this happened to begin with, but I like how they brought this up in the aspect and they said, you know, we're family because we've been in Honor No More, and you know PCO wasn't part of this family, and that's why I'm basically defending my family right now. And he's like, oh, he kept pointing out, I was like, I have to make the sacrifice for my family. I was like, I see what you did there, but okay. With the pay-per-view happening tomorrow. But yeah, I thought it was interesting, like the way they pointed out, like even during the tragedy with Jay Briscoe, this was like our way to like realize that we're family, we should be helping out each other. So I like how that, you know, tied up to everything before. And it's like, don't make us really forget that they were together in Honor No More, because I feel like we always think about Eddie and PCO because of what happened between them, but then we kind of forget that Kenny was there because he was always in the background. So it's nice to have it mentioned now that he's there with Eddie. And here too, Bobby's comment. They should bring Blunt Force Trauma, Heather Mama, and Raylene. I think that would be cool to see Raylene on Impact. And it was like, you never know. For those that don't know, as Bobby's mentioning, I interviewed Raylene not too long ago, so that's on my YouTube channel. So that's why I think he's probably mentioning Blunt Force Trauma.
Yeah, lots of very talented women that we'd like to see join the Knockouts division ultimately, but ultimately we've got to make use of the pieces that they've got at the point or at this point in time and just kind of fill the holes as necessary, I guess. Yeah. Speaking of, we got a match next between the Cannibal Savannah Evans and the Virtuosa Deonna Purrazzo. Astrid, how did you feel that this one played out?
This is the point that I kept thinking back of Tasha. I kept thinking maybe Tasha will come out and kind of like go in Savannah's face and just tell us like, what are you doing? Why do you team me up with Giselle after what she did to us, kind of thing. This is something that I wish would have happened in this situation, because I feel like at the end, well, I'm going to say now with the ending happening, and it was that 3-on-1 situation, I was hoping for somebody like Tasha to come in and just kind of have that safe with Deonna, or something will be kind of unexpected having them team and go against Giselle and Savannah in that aspect. So that's something I was hoping for. So I feel like underwhelming where like nobody really came to save Deonna. I was like, I feel like this would be a good opportunity to bring somebody in there and create something more. Because at this point, me being how much I love Deonna, I don't want to say it this way, but I'm just disappointed with what's happening now, because just her going against Giselle, I'm like, okay, so I don't care who really wins when they have their match. So what happens after that with whoever wins? So do we get Giselle win and she gets the title shot? Because that's the only thing that I can think of. Because what really does Deonna do with a win over Giselle right now? I feel like they could be doing something more with Deonna at this point. And this is not something that I wanted it to happen. But like the match itself, I love Deonna, how she performs. I know Savannah's still like in those learning ropes, so I don't expect a lot from her. I did like though that even having the heels there was a point in the match where like they had a distraction and it helped Savannah kind of like tackle Deonna to the apron there. But towards the end, where they had to have the distraction, it actually helped Deonna in the end. So I like how there was a one point that it did help them, and the other point that it didn't help them at the end. And she ended up winning the match. And this is just, again, like another preview to the match between her and Giselle for tomorrow. Which, like I said, just like I don't have a lot of interest in the match, and it's not because of Deonna. It's just the fact of like, what really do we gain from this match? That's the
Yeah, I
only thing
mean,
that I'm like, eh.
at this point, it's a feud.
It's
The
like a
feud
filler.
itself, the feud itself makes sense that it's still going. Like Deonna got to win, Giselle got to win. We've got to have the tiebreaker win. The title match doesn't really make so much sense anymore since Giselle already got the title match after winning the last round. So I don't know really where this goes next other than just wrapping up their story, because it does feel like the story wasn't over after the last match. It was, a shady win for Giselle. It was something where Deonna has right to be upset and wants to come back and get her revenge again. I feel like Savannah is in a tough spot here because I feel like she was better off with Tasha at her side. I don't having her be in this position when Giselle already had Jay Vidal is kind of an awkward trio, I guess, in a division where it would be better off to have separate entities still. But I don't know that she's ready to do it on her own yet either. I feel like she had a little bit of a brief opportunity to try and show what she could do as a solo performer and didn't really grasp my attention that much. So she definitely needs to be in somebody's corner. I just don't know that this is the place that would make the most sense for that. I do think tomorrow night we may see someone show up in Deonna's corner. I'm not sure who. But given that the numbers are there, I feel like Deonna almost has to get somebody to come and stand for her. The match itself, I really, really was impressed with Deonna. I know the position on the card and kind of the position in the story isn't the greatest, but Savannah was put in a position where she was looking really strong, really dominant. And even with the numbers game, when Deonna would try to get the advantage, she would get shut down by Giselle and Jay early. But in terms of holding her own in a strength and power matchup against Savannah, I've never looked at Deonna as being somebody really in that strong, powerful category of wrestling. I've always thought of her as someone more a strong performer and capable in terms of like holding her own at every aspect. But she really felt to me like she wasn't out of place and just able to carry someone that maybe doesn't shine without the right light put on them, I guess.
Yeah, what I did like about Deonna, this aspect is like we're used to seeing her doing submissions and things that are like hard hitting in that aspect. So it's nice to see her doing like a little bit of high flying moves in here combined as well to take down Savannah. So it's nice to see that a little bit different in her arsenal there. So I enjoy that part of it. And just like I said, I'm not really interested into what's going on with her and Giselle because I'm thinking, what's the end game here? That's what I'm going forward, and just it doesn't give me a lot of hope. And I feel bad for somebody like Deonna, who we've seen her, you know, be the Reina de Reinas champion and be Knockouts champion, and to be from there at the top to doing this, I feel like they could be doing so much more with her at this point.
Being at the top as the champ.
Yes, sir. I should that. Yes.
I did want to point out too, just the end of this match was a little bit awkward because Deonna tried to go for the crucifix bomb, but Savannah, she didn't get her all the way over. And it almost looked more like a Samoan drop where Savannah's entire weight landed on Deonna, but Deonna still managed to get the pin out of it. So that was a little weird and awkward and unfortunate that what I felt like was a really strong match ended up just having that kind of blemish at the finish.
Yeah, that's true.
We got a Death Dolls backstage segment. This was a fairly long kind of cinematic, I guess is the best way to put it. My first thought when they came on screen was, oh, hey, Taya's still here. Getting my hope up, maybe. I don't know. And Jessica's upset about them losing the titles last week, that with Rosemary's Magic, she thought they couldn't lose. And Taya tells her, we're supposed to stay away from the magic. We're not going to use that. She wants to formulate a plan and come up with a strategy on how to get the titles back, but Jessica's not willing to wait, runs off into the off screen, and Taya goes after her as Rosemary's yelling behind her, maybe give her a mimosa. A cinematic plays out here. Jessica ends up finding a casket at the end of a hallway randomly, opens it off screen. All we can see is a white light shining out of it. Taya shows up and slams it shut again, tells her that she says to stay away from the light, to move away from the white light. But while Taya's there reprimanding and telling Jessica to stay away from the light, a hand reaches out from the light in the casket and drags Taya into the casket and off screen. And Jessica runs away screaming.
First they put her in jail, now they kill her, I guess. I don't know what to call that. Or they make her disappear.
Supernatural. Maybe we'll find her in Wrestle House next year.
I get things like, did they kill her? Did she disappear? Did she do a magic trick? I don't know what to call this at this
Still
point.
in the coffin. She got dragged into the coffin, and then Jessica ran away without trying to save her. So
I know, what a friend, right? Just like I kept thinking, well, first she went to jail, now this. It's like Taya has a great way to get out of Impact Wrestling. That's what iconic for sure. No, just knowing that this was like the end of it just kind of made me like not tear up, but I was like, I don't want to watch this part, but it's coming and I have to face it anyway.
I mean, it could have been worse. She could have been stabbed to death by Deonna.
Yeah, and we still haven't found the why. So we got killed for nothing so far. Yeah, I don't know what to call it, Bobby. I guess she disappeared. I don't know if she was sent to the Upside Down. I guess I would call it that for now. Buried Impact. I probably will return as someone called Tarquin and played by Caleb with a K or someone. Oh, that's my Caleb with a K, if you didn't know. Right there.
She'll be Taya with a T.
In wrestling, death is a minor inconvenience.
In Impact, death is a minor inconvenience. Remember,
I was gonna
Adam
say
Cole was killed by the Elite and then came back to help them. So,
yeah. So, I guess it is a minor inconvenience. We put it quote unquote though, Barry, for sure. No, just like I think, and obviously congratulations to Taya of now being in All Elite Wrestling. Just hoping that they do great with her over there and they keep pushing her and showing her off because I know she deserves it. It's just bittersweet to see her leave Impact because I love the Death Dolls and they look so great together. And the reign's not over officially, so we go back to having, I guess, 2 tag teams in a way because they're still a tag team, I guess, for now. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen with the other two, so we'll see how that goes.
The Death Dolls are still there, right? We've still got Rosemary and Jessica for the time being.
Well, unless something happens with Rosemary's magic and Jessica goes back to Havoc, so she goes against Rosemary now. That's the only thing I can think of. So they'll probably, I don't think the Death Dolls will be appearing too often anytime soon. So we'll see about that. Well, they'll probably disappear entirely soon. So just that's the only thing that made me like kind of bittersweet, just thinking of like, I feel like the breakup is coming up soon, so it goes back to again one tag team perhaps. That's the only thing I was thinking of, so that's another thing that made me like bittersweet about this. I just thought it was funny that this is the way that they send off Taya, but Impact being Impact, they had to show a creative way of doing it, I guess.
Yeah, it was a fun cinematic at least. I could poke holes in it all day long if I wanted to, but I'm not going to because it was just fun.
Yeah, that's true.
Astrid. Next up, I'm sure was your favorite match of the night. So I'm going to let you.
I was going to say that about you. I was going to say, is this your favorite match of the night? It is, isn't it? Bully Ray and Tommy just gracing our screens. Hopefully one of them won't for a little while. That's the only thing I hope. I'm
just
sorry.
For a little while?
Well, it's Impact. They always come back. It's true, isn't it? They're not really gone for that long.
I mean, we can guarantee one of them's getting busted open tomorrow, right?
Maybe. Yeah, I'm like, don't get me wrong. I love my girl Mickie. I love Masha, but this is not it for me. It was like, not only was the match was like, it felt like it was short. I don't know if is that like the feeling that you got from the pacing of it, but it just felt so quickly done. I feel like more than anything, well, I'm gonna just say from like the way I saw it, it just like the part that really stood out to me was Masha taking out Mickie towards the end. We had that part of like Tommy Dreamer holding Bully Ray, so Mickie would go and do what the 3D does at WhatsApp. I guess if you want to call it, I know what that move is called, to be honest. If you remember the name, because I don't.
It was always just called the WhatsApp.
That's what I call it. And then going over like, oh, get the tables spot. So I thought that was fun seeing it from Mickie and Tommy instead. But just as Masha is taking out Mickie, Bully does low blow Tommy, and he does a pile driver for the win. And then after this is done, Masha's like, I'm not done with Mickie. This is my opportunity to like really get my hands on her. So she has Mickie going through the table, and we're setting it up with Bully to make it go through the table. We have Jordan coming up with the candlestick and hitting Bully from behind. And just when she's gonna save Mickie James, Jordan is spearing Mickie James instead at the end. So I feel like I kind of forget in a way that the title match was supposed to be Jordan and Mickie because they kept mentioning Masha so often. I kept thinking it was Masha and Mickie for some reason every single time. Up in the little moments of like Jordan's like, I'm here, it's my title match. It's Bobby saying I like Mickie and Masha too. I did too. That's the only part that I like about this is I feel like it's nice to see the girls involved in stuff like this sometimes, but I just like I don't care for bullying. I don't care for Tommy, so it doesn't help me. Barry saying, is it wrong to hope that one of the women's lends Tommy Dreamer a bra? Yeah. I don't know how to answer that.
So
I really don't.
This match honestly just felt like Masha versus Mickie with just Bully and Tommy hanging out. Really. Like you started the match with Bully and Tommy. They square up, and then Bully demands that he wants Mickie. So Tommy tags in Mickie. And then Masha demands that she wants to get in with Mickie. So Bully tags in Masha. And then we get a little bit of wrestling between the two ladies. And then Bully gets tagged in. And then Tommy gets tagged in. And then you have some more shenanigans between those two. And then the ladies get back in and do some more wrestling. And then you get into the ending sequence there. I did like that Tommy and Mickie hit like all of Bully's spots, though. Yeah. Like ultimately, the bionic elbow is Dusty Rhodes initially, the American Dream, but Bully used it for so much of his career, especially the part where like they grab their nuts and like shake back and forth, and then the was up and they get the tables. And ultimately, my favorite part of this entire match was after they hit the was up and Bully sat up and my balls. It was just so over the top ridiculous that somehow that ended up being my favorite part of this whole segment.
That's amazing. That's your highlight of this match. It just felt like the girls were wrestling and the girls were like cheerleaders. I don't know if I call it that. I guess the guys were just like cheerleaders in the corners.
Pretty much, they were two, like Tommy wanted to fight and Bully wanted to fight, but neither of them wanted to fight each other. Apparently,
no, they were waiting to get busted open tomorrow.
You wouldn't want to bust open too early.
Yeah.
Then we go backstage, and this is kind of the start of the second hour's overarching story here. So we got Frankie Kazarian and Rich Swann backstage. Swan's talking about how like he feels like he's just kind of somebody that's going to get beat down by Macklin for Josh. Maybe Macklin had a point. Maybe Josh does have him just because he's somebody that's beneath him and not actually because he's a friend. Frankie's there trying to defend Josh and tells Rich that he needs to go and talk to Josh about this, that they need to square this out before the match at Sacrifice tomorrow night. Cut to commercial, come back. Rich is going into Josh's locker room looking for Josh and finds Steve Macklin there. Rich starts getting mad, telling him, what are you doing here? Why are you going through Josh's stuff? And then, wait, why are you in Josh's room? And Macklin's like, how do you know Josh didn't invite me here? To kind of stir that pot and create a little bit more cracks. I know I talked about this a little bit last week with Ed. It really feels like that's where Macklin's going right now, is just trying to push those little wedges and push people away from Josh. So Josh doesn't have any of the support structure behind him that he's had for every match up until this point. He wants Josh to feel alone. He wants Josh to feel like he's on an island. He wants Josh to be looking over his shoulder for where Macklin is at any point in time here.
Yeah, I like the connection between one part and the other one, going from like Cass and Swan talking to Swan walking over to the locker room, like not even a minute after, at least for me, because I'm watching it on YouTube. And then for him to be like, "What are you doing here in the locker room?" And it's like, what was really Macklin doing, just going to the back, like, what's in there? Like, I think you know.
Yeah.
What are you really looking in there for? Um, yeah, I didn't think it was interesting in seeing that part of like Macklin kind of using like the mind games in the sense of it that way, because I'm used to seeing him more in the ring and not using really that aspect of it. So it's interesting and new for me seeing him kind of play the mind games for towards the guys there, and like you said, driving that wedge between them and taking away the people that have supported and have been friends with Josh this whole time. So it's pretty interesting seeing that aspect of him being a heel that I don't think I've ever seen before from him.
Yeah, just really owning that, but also just really, really playing up that tactical, strategical mind of his that you haven't necessarily seen. We get kind of a little bit of a climax to this whole bit at the end of the show, but we had the main event next, and we got the rundown of the upcoming cards. So I'm going to skip over the sacrifice card. We're going to go through all of that after we finish talking about tonight's show. We'll go through our predictions and all that. Next week's Impact is a very special live from Impact Studios with just some pre-recorded matches, never before seen stuff. We get the debut of Mayu Yamashita, who we will also see next week on Multiverse United, as she is part of that. I believe it's a 4-way for the Knockouts title, if I remember correctly.
I believe so. I don't think I have it on me, but I think so, yes.
A never before seen Will Ospreay versus Homicide match, and a never before seen Josh Alexander versus Kenta match. All three of these matches are of extreme interest to me, at least. I feel like they're all going to be really, really exciting, top-notch wrestling to be seen. And as Bobby says, he's also looking forward to seeing Mayu Yamashita wrestling at Impact here. And then we got the rundown of the Multiverse United card, which we'll touch on a little bit. Astrid and I will be touching on that over the course of the week through our socials as well. So definitely give us our follows on there. Let's just jump into the main event here, Astrid, because there's not a lot to talk about for next week. We've got to talk about tomorrow after we're done tonight's at least. Joe Hendry and Dirty Dango versus Moose and Myers. I mean, anywhere Dirty Dango goes is a good time and a fun time and truly just an enjoyable experience. And Joe Hendry, I don't believe that he can do wrong. I believe in Joe Hendry.
I kept thinking, I never in a million years thought of Joe Hendry and Dango as a team. But it's a thing I never thought I wanted, but I like it now. It's like I want to keep it going after I seen it tonight. I like those little like bits and pieces of like Joe going, yeah, we're gonna do the arms thing, and then Dango's like, we're gonna do this instead.
Well, it was even at the start, right? The pre-match promo when Joe Hendry's cutting his regular promo, and he's got Dango in the back as his hype man, basically. And Joe does the spot where everybody will be saying only 2 words, and that's when Dango just comes in, suck it. The look that Joe gave him, like a what?
So that's not how it goes. But no, they were definitely like a fun team to have, though.
It was pure comedy gold. It was a fun way to close out this show. You had Dango just taking a beating throughout because Myers and Moose kept knocking Hendry off or getting him to distract the ref for them. And Dango is just there basically as a punching bag for Moose and Myers to humiliate Joe Hendry a little bit. Obviously, Joe Hendry just looks amazing.
Look, we get right to the point, and we don't go around the bush here. And we're focused. We're not off the rails either.
This is what it's like
me.
when you
I'm back.
don't go off the rails. Yeah, Joe Hendry looked really good when he came in, as he always does. He hit all of his spots. He hit all of his marks. Ultimately, they take Dango out, and Moose and Myers get the better. really, really awkward camera cut at the end that I almost wonder if Moose kind of botched the spear because they cut away to just look at Dango laying on the outside right as Moose was supposed to be hitting the spear, and then came back to just kind of like an awkward spot of Moose actually hitting the spear, and then Myers with the clothesline for the win. Kind of took me out of the moment in that second. Really surprising that Myers got the win over Hendry here. I felt like Dango was just in this match to take the fall and be the fall guy. So kudos to Impact for keeping me on my toes there and giving Myers kind of that reverse momentum going into Sacrifice tomorrow.
No, and it's like once you see those little, like for this example, seeing a tag team, you think like this is the way to have Myers win, have Dango get the pin, and Joe Hendry still protected. So it does make sense that they do go this route and this aspect of it, because we know our Joe Hendry is not losing that title anytime soon. So it does make sense that they decided to do this as the main event and just have Dango take the fall. It doesn't really hurt him, being that
Dango didn't take the fall.
I mean, Dango, losing, just that's what I mean as a whole. So it's not bad in that aspect of it for him either. So it's interesting to see it though. Ay.
Only Ed could spend 20 minutes talking about Taylor Wilde.
I know I don't like her, but it's not that much. I tried at it. Sorry.
Let's just go to the true main event of the night here, Esther, because this was unannounced, unexpected, and really, really well done. I felt so. After the match was finished, we go backstage to where Josh is approaching his locker room and finds Rich Swann still fuming and steaming in there about the Macklin interruption. Goes off on Josh about like what Macklin was doing in his locker room, and Josh is like, "The hell is going on here right now? Like, I have no idea what you're talking about." So he's like, "I'm going to go to the ring and we're going to figure this out." We get Josh out. Josh, after a commercial break again, comes in, makes his entrance, comes down to the ring. He starts monologuing and essentially putting Steve Macklin over, talking about all of his successes, how he came into Impact like a bat out of hell and beat down everybody and, kicked ass and ticked names. Talks about how he has respect for Macklin the wrestler and has respect for Macklin the combat veteran. Where he loses him is the whining, the complaining, the blaming everybody but himself. Talks about how Josh is ducking him, but really he thinks Macklin is Josh thinks Macklin is ducking him. Says that Macklin is afraid of failing. He's afraid of being a soldier with no mission. Afraid of being a man with no purpose. He's afraid of being a forgotten son. Pause there. Josh's speech, Josh's monologue. Before we get into Macklin's retort, how did you feel about Josh's monologue here?
The only thing that I kept thinking is when he kept saying and like bringing it up, was like he's been like dodging me. It's like he hasn't though. He's been there the whole time wanting that shot, and like Steve said it later, is like, I let people like Speedball come in and take the match before me. I let people like Swan come in and take that match before me. So I thought it was interesting seeing it from that aspect from Josh, where he says, "Oh yeah, he's been ducking me this whole time." Sorry, it's like he's been there. He's asking for that match, asking, this whole time for management to give him that shot to be in that match. It's like, so he wasn't really ducking him. He's just asking to have that one-on-one with Josh. So it's like, I wonder from Josh's point of view, the way he said that, I thought it was super interesting and it definitely caught my attention. And the other line, of course, it's when he mentions like him being a forgotten son, and I like how even Macklin had to point that out a little bit later.
I think that was probably one that Josh pulled off his cuff because the way Macklin responded to it, and he's like, "Forgotten son, nice."
Yes. As that is saying, made Josh feel a little bit silly that Macklin will be avoiding the title shot. Yeah, it just felt like it. At least from like, I'm not saying like he's not wrong for saying it. It just, to me, it didn't make much sense for him to say that. But I did like the forgotten sound line. It definitely stood out to me when he said it.
And Josh mentioned it in a backstage segment with Macklin a couple weeks back, I feel, where he said, Macklin kept saying, "You've been ducking me. You've been ducking me." And Josh was like, "No, I've been standing right here. I've held open challenges. Where were you? Why didn't you accept the open challenge? I've been challenging. I've been defending my belt. I've been taking whoever comes and challenges me for it. Why haven't you just been man enough to come and challenge me? So it does make a little bit of sense that, Macklin's been going all the politicking back roads. He's been going to the ring and beating everybody down. And then he's been going to Demore. He's been going to Santino being like, where's my chance? Why does everybody else get a chance and I don't get a chance? So in a little bit of a way, I can see Josh's perspective of saying, you could have just been man enough to come to my face and ask for a title shot. You've been skirting the sidelines, telling everybody else you want a title shot, but never actually coming to me yourself.
Yeah, but still feel like the line itself, it makes it feel like Steve doesn't want to be there, and from the last couple months, he wants to be there, and also like going to like now a little bit of like Steve Macklin and what he's saying. I love I think it was towards the end, if I'm not mistaken, when he does say like, "I want to beat you in your hometown," and it just makes me like think back of like what we've been saying here for months during the show, just like when we were counting down, like thinking of like, okay, this is some of the time that Josh is going to become champion. And then when they announced that it was like the show was going to be in Canada, we thought from the get-go, this is the time that he's going to lose right here in Canada, because it does make sense with the storyline. So even having him mention that, it made me think of like this past couple months on discussing this. And then he says it in his promo as well.
Yeah, I appreciated a lot of how Macklin broke down his side of things here when he came out to explain the fact that he hasn't necessarily been ducking him, but he's just been laying in wait almost. He admits to watching Bayley and Bobby Fish come out when he could have. Admits he's been afraid to fail and go back to the bottom. He's waited so he would be prepared and have no room for failure. And then the compilation that he showed, I really, really appreciated the compilation video they put together of him at basically every single one of Josh Alexander's title defenses over the last year. They have a clip of Bobby Fish just behind the crowd in the black space behind a curtain watching Josh from afar. And he points out, Josh said Macklin only wants to be where the spotlight and the cameras are. And Macklin turns it around and says, no, the spotlight and the camera was always on you. I was watching, I was studying, I was making sure that I was prepared for when I got my chance. And Ed and I talked about it last week when Ed was confused on why Macklin was just hanging out in the darkest, dimmest, poorly lit corner of the building, why he wouldn't come out to the ring, why he wouldn't come out on the rampway, why he was standing so far away if like he was distracting or whatever. And this just puts that extra stamp and that explanation in there that he's been doing this all along. He has always been in that dark corner. Just like I said last week, he's in Josh's head now. Josh has a Macklin problem. Josh has Steve Macklin on the brain. And for the first time in the entire time he's been defending his title, he actually saw Macklin standing in that dimly lit dark corner once. And it was enough to distract him and take his eye off the ball. And even after this, and Josh tries to retort, the body language from Josh Alexander shows Steve's in his head. He's letting his emotions get to him. He's letting Steve the mind games are actually affecting him. You see him lose his composure, lay the title down, drop the challenge. Why wait? Let's do it right now. And Macklin's like, no, I'm going to wait. I'm going to do this the right way. And I'm going to beat you for your title in your hometown. And it played out so poetically. And the fact that they've clearly been planning this for so long to get these clips of Macklin. This is long-term storytelling that no other company ever takes the time or the effort to play out to this length.
Yeah, I did love that aspect of like I said a few minutes ago, him going with the mind games. He showing the footage of him watching Josh's match, shows how he's waiting for that moment, waiting for that time to shoot his shot. And the way he just, being analytical and calculating is something like we haven't seen from Macklin before, but it's nice to see it like here, and they have evidence about it. It's showing not only him in the curtain, but showing the dates at the bottom, and having him watch each one of Josh's matches. So I thought it was super interesting because it goes back to like the mind games aspect of something we haven't seen from him before, and like showing him like, okay, I was not in the title match, I didn't answer the open challenge, but I've been studying you, I've been watching you, and I'm taking my time to get that title shot at the same time. And look at me now, like I'm finally in your head. So like what I've been doing and what I've been working towards is it actually worked. I did love that aspect of having him like from the back, like I said, having the the dates in the corner. He's watching every single time, and kind of like waiting for that moment to really shoot. So I think it was super interesting the way I feel like I liked more the way he answered to the way most I don't want to call him a heel, but it's like the way that most heels answer. I feel like I liked it because he backed it up in a good way. Most heels that they back it up and it's not or they try to back it up, but it's not exactly the right way. And I feel like with him, he answered it correctly the way it should have been for Josh. And it just shows you that after he answered it got to Josh's head with his reply. So I thought it was interesting seeing like even right there and then the way that it's affecting Josh already in his head. And like I said, to me, the cherry on top is him saying like, "I'm gonna beat you in your hometown." So just I feel like this whole part towards the end, I kept looking at the time and I kept wondering, it's like, so if we had Moose and Myers now versus Henry and Dango, like what the heck is happening after this? And then I never thought about this happening as like the main event, but it's just such a great way to close it out. I thought like the match would close out the show, but I feel like it just put an exclamation point into the rivalry, and that was like such a great way for me to like have it end and like that chapter end between them of like this is the beginning of it. So I thought, like, after this, I was like, yeah, if you didn't want to see the match before, you definitely want to see it after watching just this part tonight. And this is exactly how like it should be to get you excited to watch that match.
Honestly, this would have not even almost, this would have been a perfect segment for a go home show. If this was April 14th on the go, or April 13th on the go home to Rebellion, I would have thought this was the perfect way to go home to that title match and leave it just right there with Macklin refusing to engage in the brawl, being like, you know what, I'll see you in 3 days. The fact that this is happening right now, and Josh Alexander has the Team Impact versus Time Machine match on tomorrow's Sacrifice. The fact that Josh Alexander has a title match against Kushida at Multiverse United next Thursday. And we've still got 2 more Impact shows between now and Rebellion. There's a lot more that can potentially come up here. Josh has to make it to Rebellion as the champion. He's still got a lot going on, and he's got to keep these emotions in check for almost an entire month still. He's got 4 weeks to wait before he actually gets a shot at, or gets to go into this title match. So there's a lot of moving pieces, and I'm really curious because this would have been so perfect as the go home. Really curious to see what they've still got on the docket, and hopefully the go home show itself holds up to this or more.
Yeah, because that's definitely not like the kind of vibe I got from this promo. Because I felt like this was the go home show for them. Like it felt that way to me, like for both of them. So I'm like, if you would have told me like this was happening at Sacrifice tomorrow, it would have made sense for me because of the way it ended tonight. So it just had me curious, is like, what else are they gonna do between now and then for like Macklin, for example, because he really has nothing else to lose. Josh is the one that has a lot to lose with the next coming weeks, and not only that, but to see the mind games from Macklin being, you can see them in the ring with Josh is what I'm curious to see in the next couple weeks, and the way it affects him in his performance. Like I wonder maybe he's gonna lose maybe the 6-man tag because he's not gonna be focused, and his mind's not gonna be there because he's focused on Macklin. So I wonder something like that is gonna play out when we watch Sacrifice tomorrow.
Yeah, it's very possible. That was the show. We're gonna leave that there, I think, unless you've got anything more, Astrid, and we'll jump into our Sacrifice card.
No, I didn't want to leave out Barry's coming out. He said, I think Macklin's going to have a room with the walls covered in pictures of Josh, items of Josh's trash on the floor, and a rocking chair. Macklin sits in wearing his mother's wedding dress and muttering to himself.
I mean, are we talking Bray Wyatt? Are we talking Dexter Lumis? Are we? I mean, there's so many people with pictures, people covering the walls that.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay. Lots to go over in Sacrifice. I'm gonna start with the tag team titles. I think we're gonna jump right in. We're gonna go with Ace Austin and Chris Bay taking on TMDK of Shane Haste and Bad Dude Tito, or as our good friend Malball likes to call him, Big Teats. Astrid, is there any chance that this one goes any way other than the one that I believe we both are on board here?
Yeah, so I said I don't know about, is it Big Tito you said? I don't know about him.
Bad Dude
I know
Tito.
more
There's
about
Malball.
Shane. There you go. So that's his name now. I'm sorry. I'm gonna stick to that one. I do know a little bit about Shane, but I don't see the Bullet Club losing this so easily, or like I don't want to say easily, but like so quickly after they have won it. So I definitely stick into BC for this one.
Yeah, this match was thrown together so quickly, and has almost no build other than a brief backstage interaction between Bullet Club and Shane Haste. I don't think there's any way Bullet Club loses this. I think these guys are all talented enough that this should be a really fun, exciting match, but there's no way it's going against Ace Austin and Chris Bay at this point.
Yeah.
Kenny King taking on PCO. Kenny King coming to the rescue of Eddie Edwards and I guess stepping in to try and do what Eddie Edwards has not been able to do. I'm very torn on this one, but I think I'm going to go the way of saying Kenny King wins, likely due to some shenanigans and interference from Eddie Edwards.
You're not picking PCO? Are you all right? Can somebody go check on him, please? No, this one I'm really like torn about because I keep thinking like PCO is like not even a human at this point. But it's like I want, like I said earlier, I want something else for Kenny King. So it's like, do I want him to win and do something that Eddie hasn't been able to do, and like kind of have him bring that up later towards Eddie? That's the only thing that I can think of. But it's like, how do I go against PCO though? How could you go against PCO? Come on.
I feel like Bobby's going against PCO too, so.
No. I also thought about the same thing Barry did. This tag match is more of an advert for a multiverse show. Yeah, that's how I felt too. Yeah, well, you're picking Kitty. I'm doing PCO. Sorry. I'm not going against him.
Next up, let's go to the Giselle and Deonna match, Astrid. You're not looking forward to it. You haven't been enjoying the build to it. How do you feel about who's coming out of this with W?
Oh, yeah. I don't know what to think about this, but I as much as I don't want to, I'm like, and I don't want to. Is like I feel like Giselle's winning this, and I don't want to pick Giselle, so I'm just gonna go with Deonna. Sorry.
I don't think Giselle's winning this. I think the fact that Giselle won, she got her title match, and we're still going with it suggests that she got her title match while she was peaked. And I feel like Deonna probably comes out of this, and I feel like Deonna probably comes out with some backup out of this as well.
Now you're good, Mel. I agree with that one. I knew Paris was gonna do Giselle, but no, just I keep thinking of like what would happen after this, and I feel like they're probably gonna pick Giselle to win it, but I want Deonna to win it though. So you sticking with Deonna too for once? We're doing the same one.
Yeah, we're both with Deonna here.
All right.
Round two, Jonathan Gresham. Why am I still calling him Jermaine? He's been around long enough.
I was gonna say, who's Jermaine?
Jermaine Gresham, I believe, is an NFL player. Parrish probably would be able to back me up on that. But yes, it's Jonathan Gresham versus Speedball Mike Bailey. Round two. I feel like this has to be Bailey getting his win back, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I could think about when I saw this.
That like the fact that they gave the win to Gresham, we had this back and forth and we end up back in the match again. It feels like a 50-50 booking. These two are so talented and so extremely good together. Oh, Mel Ball throwing me off my game.
Yes.
But I feel like this is just setting up that we'll probably have that third match at Rebellion with some kind of stipulation. I mentioned it last week with Ed that I feel like we're probably in a line with this to potentially be looking at an Iron Man match or a 2 out of 3 falls or something along those lines where these two will be able to go for an extended period and really just put this rivalry to bed.
I don't want to say that sums it up, but it sums it up. Sorry.
You're on board with Speedball there as well then?
Yeah, speedball all the way.
We got Trey Miguel, and it wasn't ever really actively announced per se on the show. There was nothing to really build towards it. Trey Miguel versus Lince Dorado as Santino's handpicked opponent for him for the X Division Championship. I can't even say very much about this. I'm just sticking with my boy Trey Miguel and just leaving it at that.
I was like, I cannot. As much as I think Lince is good in the ring, I cannot go against Trey, especially now with this. I don't want to say attitude change, but his attitude change is winning the title. So, we're sticking to that. I'm sticking to what Gia said. Whatever smoking got to his head, so I'm gonna keep it going from there.
At this point, I had the thought tonight that he spray painted the title, which signifies he's not losing it for a long time, because when he loses it, they're gonna need a new title.
Yep. Where's that replica though? We need it.
Yeah. Digital Media Championship. The most professional wrestler, Brian Myers, finally gets his rematch against Joe Hendry. I don't think it's any surprise to anybody in this room or anybody watching at home that I believe in Joe Hendry, and I believe we believe in Joe Hendry.
I was gonna say, what you say? It's plural. We believe in Joe Henry in this house. No, I can't go against him either. Sorry.
The most professional wrestler is not the digital media's champion.
Good job, Bobby. You're picking the right people. Well, with that one at least.
I don't know where there's a spot for Trey in Bullet Club Parish. You've already got Ace and Bay, like Ace, Bay, and Trey.
I mean, it does have a nice ring to it.
Yeah. Okay, Astrid, bring us home. We have our busted open match between Bully Ray and Tommy Dreamer and Busted Open Radio, apparently.
I'm still like, I had hope that this will be some kind of loser leaves Impact match. So at least we could get a reason for Bully Ray to leave, even though it's probably winning it and the way it goes with Impact. I just don't see Bully losing this one as much as I don't want to pick him.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any way I can pick against Bully in this match either. It just Bully's still in a prominent position and coming out of a title match. Tommy. I mean, no, you know what? I am going to give it to Dreamer here. I'm going to say Dreamer busts him open to keep this feud going to Rebellion, where we'll get the loser leaves Impact.
Ew. Okay. Yeah, I don't see Bully leaving anytime soon, so we'll see.
That's why I think Dreamer wins this one. We go to a loser leaves, and then Dreamer leaves.
Maybe.
We were supposed to have our Knockouts World title match between Mickie James and Jordynne Grace, as we announced at the start of the show. Breaking news from immediately following Impact Wrestling tonight: Mickie James is not going to be able to defend her title due to an injury. She has not been able to be cleared to wrestle in Windsor, Ontario this weekend. Astrid, do you have any bold or out there predictions on what you think we might see? They did say they'd address it on the show. Does Jordynne get a match? Who does she go against? What are we going to see come out of this missing segment now on tomorrow's show?
I feel like the only thing I could think of like right now on top of my head will be her going against Masha, being that they were I don't want to say involved, but like in a way involved during this match with Mickie, that Mickie had with against Bully Ray and Masha. So that's the only thing that I can think of right now. I don't think that, I guess depending on what quote unquote the injury is, maybe they will kind of have Mickie relinquish the title. I think that would definitely not be the case that I would like to go with, because I just want to keep this going with her as champion. And that'll be like really unfortunate, especially at this time. So I'm hoping she doesn't have to relinquish it, because then what do we get? Some kind of like ladder match or anything like that, like a multi-woman match, so everybody gets a fair shot for it, maybe.
It'll be
But
very interesting if she relinquishes, because we have Multiverse next week where she's in that 4-woman match to defend the title again. And I believe both Deonna and Giselle are in that match with Mayu Yamashita, if I remember correctly, right?
yeah, and maybe Jordan was to have a match against somebody else. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like we could be her and Masha most likely.
Could put
Parrish,
Masha on the
we
card.
don't do we don't do no interim in this house. No, we're not doing that here.
There's a possibility we could see Death Dolls or the Covenant up on the card in this position as well. There's also a possibility maybe of a Killer Kelly showing up.
No, that's true. Yeah.
And last but definitely not least, we have, as Ed has dubbed them, Team Impact, Frankie Kazarian, Rich Swann, Josh Alexander taking on the team of Time Machine, Kushida with the Motor City Machine Guns of Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley. This match could go either way. It really feels like we could see any number of outcomes come out of this. The cracks that have started to kind of form between Swann and Josh's mind being on Steve Macklin, Frankie Kazarian trying to hold everything together and be the glue between the three of them. But then you've got Kushida with his upcoming world title match. You've got the Motor City Machine Guns as the NJPW Strong Tag Champions still. Lots of moving pieces. This is the match that I think I have the hardest time picking who I think is going to win. But I think I've landed on Time Machine.
I thought about that too, because I keep thinking the watch between Swann and Josh maybe will show a little bit during this match, and the mind games from Steve Macklin get into Josh's head. Like I said a few minutes ago, I think it'd be like a good position for them to have Josh lose the match, just not getting pinned, so it doesn't hurt him really much in the end. That's the only thing that I can think of, because if Time Machine, I feel like it will be a good momentum for Kushida in the end too as well. So that's the aspect that I can think of in there too, because we do have Swann and Alexander win and Cass, to just what really happens after that. I feel like it doesn't really help the story of like driving the watch between them if they actually win. As Parrish is saying, Time Machine win and then Macklin challenging with Josh. So, and then Barry, Time Machine will win to make Kushida look strong. Yeah, that's the other thing that I'm thinking of as well, aside from like the story aspect between Swann and Josh. So I'm definitely doing Time Machine.
I definitely think that we could see in this match a potential heel turn from Rich Swann. The way this card or this last hour of Impact tonight kind of played out, and how on edge Rich Swann is about the comment by Macklin about being, beneath Josh, being a lesser than. I think we could be due for that Rich Swann heel turn. That he's been the babyface and the good guy for so long. I would like to see him make that move and see a different side and a little bit more edge to Rich Swann's character at this point.
Yeah, it could add a little extra to that part there, and as we were like seeing tonight as well, having that part of like Cass being like, "Oh, talk to Josh," let's make things right, and like having Cass being that bridge between them right now, and it's like basically what's holding on the team for the moment. So I think like we have, like you said, a few parts going at the same time. So I definitely think Time Machine has to win this one.
Yeah, that's the sacrifice card. Unless I've missed any, you have the graphics there, but I feel like we've made it through all of them.
Yeah.
We're once again fairly close to being on the same page. I think will be decided either between the Busted Open match and the Kenny King PCO match here tomorrow night. Once again, we won't be live with anything tomorrow night for Sacrifice. You can follow on the socials. We'll see about tweeting it out as we watch along. We will be back next week for a very special Thursday night, as we won't be doing our regular Making an Impact since there isn't really much to react to on next week's Impact show. We will be live streaming a watch along of Multiverse United with Melball Collins and Andre C., the regular duo that does NJPW reviews on Backbreaker Media as well. A co-produced product of all four of us. We hope you can join the watch along, join the conversation, react to the show in live with us. Something Astrid and I think are both looking really forward to getting with a couple of our good friends on stream here and being able to be live as the show's going, as opposed to reacting after the fact. So that will be 8 o'clock Pacific, I believe, or 8 o'clock Mountain Time.
I think it's Pacific, yeah.
8 o'clock Pacific time, so that's 11 o'clock on the East Coast.
Yeah, they put 11 p.m. Eastern. So
yeah. So it'll be a late night for Astrid. It'll be a late night for all of us, but we hope that you guys can join us and join the watch along and enjoy the show with us, because there's some very, very quality matches on that show. Josh Alexander and Kushida, Kenta and Minoru Suzuki, Hiroshi Tanahashi and Speedball Mike Bailey, Moose and Jeff Cobb, a four-way tag match between Bullet Club, Aussie Open, TMDK, and Motor City Machine Guns. We've got the four-way women's match we already talked about, and a lot more that I didn't even write down or that weren't actually mentioned on tonight's broadcast. There's so much fun in Impact Wrestling going, with Sacrifice this week, Multiverse next week.
Oh, Barry.
No Taylor Wilde on the show next week. I don't need to talk about her at all.
I was like, I don't think I have enough words for that. And I'm the writer, so I can't even say. I do feel bad for Barry because we're going to be here on a little bit later than usual for next week. Just a little bit, not too long. But yeah, just really excited for it, because as the Backbreaker Media family, we don't get to often work together. So it's nice to see, like, we have representatives for let's say both teams in a way for that, and doing a watch along. I don't get to do stuff with Andre too often, so it's nice to be on the screen with him again as well. And so yeah, I'm just really excited for like the pay-per-view in itself, because I don't watch New Japan, so just excited for. I know it's not, I want to say introduction, but it's like a little bit after the introduction of like certain people for me, because I know their names, but I don't get to watch them really often. Like I know like Andre and Mel do on their channel. And if you haven't checked them out, I suggest you do. I think it will be a good way to get that preview to Multiverse. I think we're also planning to do through the week on our socials, just kind of showing our predictions for like sort of matches to kind of give you insight into what we're thinking. I think it'll be interesting because I don't know about New Japan a lot. So how do I pick somebody from New Japan when I love Impact? So I think that will be interesting on my aspect at least. But really excited for it to be a watch along. We don't do that often here, so.
Keep your eyes peeled on the socials, guys. If you've already followed myself and Astrid, I'm at Cody Defoe. Astrid is at Astrid Pizarro. Also give Andre and Melball a follow, as they will be part of this with us. That it's at Collins Melball, I believe, and at That Canada Guy. We'll all be going back and forth, sharing our predictions, maybe some good-hearted fun between the four of us as we lead up to that watch along. We'd enjoy the interaction, get in on the predictions with us, and then join us as you're watching, and have some good-hearted ribbon with each other as we win or lose our predictions.
Yeah, I feel bad, Barry. I'm sorry. I know it has to be a little bit later because of their start time. So we're definitely gonna miss you if you don't show up. But at least we know that you'll be able to watch it the next day, if anything. But yeah, just excited to work with them and kind of have. I imagine it's gonna be we're having 4 people on screen at the same time. I'm not used to that.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. If you don't get to be there live, Barry, we'd love for you, when you do get to watch Multiverse, to throw us up in the background and pop in and drop a line as you're watching along. And if you have anything to add in there, and we'll be sure to keep an eye on that and keep you in mind while we're watching.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it for it. See, it wasn't that bad. An hour and 20 minutes. Come on, Ed.
Yeah.
That was not bad.
We managed to do the whole show and a predictions. Ed and I took 2 hours doing just the show.
I know. I watched.
Already plugged the socials for us, Astrid. Mine is easy. Obviously, I'm back here for Multiverse United. I'm only really on the Making an Impact program right now. Give me a follow. Pop in Thursdays. Remember, Mondays is the repeat broadcast of our Making an Impact stream. If you miss us live, give a follow to Backbreaker Media, Backbreaker Video, and they make sure to produce and upload our content onto YouTube every Monday morning. Astrid, what do you got going on this week now that you're back into the grind?
I know it's like going back in it like I wasn't like it wasn't even a vacation. Going back doing Tuesday with or doing taking over on Tuesday. I can't even talk right now. With Ed again, and again, like we said, going back to next week, we'll do the 11 p.m. Eastern time for a multiverse next week. So that'll be super interesting going back to later than usual. So I'm gonna get a lot of Red Bull for next week, especially for Thursday. Rather than that, you can go on my YouTube channel. I do have an interview with Ray Lynn, which is what Bobby was mentioning earlier. That was just released on my YouTube channel. We do talk about WoW superheroes and her start there, her tag team with Heather, which is Blunt Force Trauma. And we even talk about the advice that she got, which is from Medusa, who said that she watched the interview. So that was pretty interesting to get on my Twitter this past week. But yeah, that's pretty much, I think, what I have for the moment. I know Mel and I will do Ladies Western Showcase sometime soon. We were supposed to do it. I was on vacation, so I had to skip it. But other than that, yeah, just say I want to thank everybody for stopping in tonight. Oh, we almost forgot though. Do you don't have an impact maker for the night?
Ooh. Yeah, I think.
I just thought about it.
Yeah, it's hard this week. I think I don't have anyone that really stood out for me. I think I'm going to give it to Kevin Knight. I feel like I was really impressed with what he did in that BTI match with Trey Miguel, and someone that I'd love to see get himself into a title picture in the future here.
Yes, as Perry was saying, I do have Killer Cuts on my channel. It's also on the OLE. I know I'm waiting on Bobby as we're gonna do our Scream review coming up soon, so that should be on our local establishment YouTube channel sometime soon. Ew, Bobby did Deonna. I'm gonna pick somebody that it's gonna be kind of unexpected, but I'm gonna pick Taya, being that it's probably her last show for Impact for a little while. So I'm just gonna do Taya Valkyrie for tonight. Because she disappeared on me, literally. But,
sucked into the abyss.
For now. But yeah, no, everyone, I thank everybody for stopping in. Excited for next week. We're doing Multiverse United, so if you can watch it live with us, we would appreciate it. So you can watch it along with us and have fun with us and Andre and Melba. But thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you next week.